Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
We're someplace different again.
We are now in my dining room.
Yeah, we're going to run out. How many rooms do we don't have that many rooms left.
There's a few. I mean, I don't think we're going to do a podcast from my bedroom, but we could do it from my deck.
What about the bathroom? Do you have is there a seating area in there?
3.5 of those.
Okay.
Rooms also have four sides, so if
I'm going to need a lot of bubbles.
differently.
If
That's
I'm going to
true.
do a podcast in the bathroom, I'd be taking a bath.
So you're going to get the tub and we'll be sitting on the outside?
I take sometimes 2 baths in a single day.
That's a lot of baths.
So it's like Zach Galifianakis's Between Two Ferns, but you can Between Two Suds.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if anyone out there, or if you guys have read Jitterbug Perfume.
No.
Tom Robbins' novel about a couple, Alabar and Kudra.
He's the skinny legs and all guy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But that's not the book you should refer to.
I did
him
not
by.
like that book very much.
No, it's not
It was
that
okay.
good. You have to go back and look at his early canon, like Still Life with a Woodpecker, Jitterbug Perfume, Another Roadside Attraction, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. That quartet are all fantastic, and they all involve. Skinny Legs follows this formula too, just not as well. They all involve the secret to the universe being found in something.
Okay.
In Another Roadside Attraction, it's drumming and mushrooms, like just normal food mushrooms.
It's an important distinction.
Yes. In Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, it's sissy's thumbs and it's hitchhiking as a mode of transcendence. In Still Life with a Woodpecker, it's bombs and cigarettes. And in Jitterbug Perfume, it's about a couple, Alabar and Kudra, who meet somewhere around the 8th century, fall in love, and live together for over 1,000 years.
Wow. That seems like a long time.
And the secret to their long life is perfume, lots of baths, and sex.
In that order.
No, not
reverse
necessarily
order.
in that order. Not necessarily in that order. And breathing. Oh, they have a very specific breathing technique.
If you have a lot of sex and you don't have other communication, I can imagine that like the amount of conflict you'd have in your relationship would probably tune down a little bit.
1,000 years is a long time.
That is a long
That is a
time.
long time.
Yeah.
In Another Roadside Attraction, one of the main characters finds the body of Jesus in a cardboard box in the basement of the Vatican during an earthquake.
It's not a Dan Brown movie?
No, it's really way earlier. So those books, I haven't read them since I was like 20. But
So they wouldn't have had a cardboard box when Jesus died.
No, we got
they
transferred.
Oh, okay.
The idea is that someone,
Like at some point
It's
they
all a
just-
minor functionary.
some
was like, we'll put this in
librarian.
there.
It's like the end of Raiders.
Archivists.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the Vatican, things go everywhere these days.
I believe that there are warehouses full of things that we aren't to know about.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
totally
Yeah.
know that this is the
Yeah.
case. Yeah.
Interesting.
Random tangent to Dan Brown. He wrote that book Angels and Demons,
Yeah.
which popularized the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider.
Oh, it did.
And you guys in your How Does He Shave? And oh man, this is all going to work perfectly together. in the
We
video,
referenced the
you referenced the
LHC,
LHC and CERN, and I was at CERN because I didn't podcast with you guys
Yeah.
last week, and they've watched that video.
Oh, no, they did?
They did, not knowing it was like a Gillette thing. They're like, oh, the guys from Mythbusters talk about the LHC, and it's
that's
ridiculous.
awesome.
And I also found out that in their library, in the LHC library, it's all nonfiction. It's all science books, but the only fiction book they have 7 copies
Of Dan Brown.
of Dan Brown's Angels and Demons, because that's
Wow.
what popularized LHC.
That is funny. We gave them the biggest props imaginable. We've been doing some press about it and, talking about Superman's, if he's going to look for the pinnacle of Earth technology to introduce some new alien molecular structures, the LHC is where you would go do it.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of that movie,
Yeah.
Speaking of that movie, this is one of the best segues ever,
Wow.
Norm.
It is really amazing. I mean,
we went full
You've been out for a
circle.
couple of weeks and you've been working on this
Yeah.
whole time.
He
Did you
comes in,
workshop this?
he's been working out. Dun, dun, dun,
I
dun.
know it's amazing. Norm's pulling. He's got the chains with
all
the
mixed up.
locomotives.
Yeah.
He's hitting the speed bag and jogging up.
Exactly.
you saw
I got to see an advanced
Man of
preview
Steel.
of
In the theater.
Superman Man of Steel. Yeah, over at the
This
Metreon.
is unusual for you.
It is. We were doing the thing with Gillette. They asked us to come up with ideas for how Superman shaves, and I was like, "Well, can you get me to an early screening?" And they were like, "Yes." So I went and
Done.
saw it Tuesday with my boys, and I didn't
Nice.
tell my boys what was happening. I told them I was taking them out to dinner.
Oh,
So we
that's
got in
great.
the car, and I was like, "You know what we're
Nice.
doing?" They're like, "No, we're going to see Superman." They're like, "Yeah."
That's
all
fantastic.
around.
I too watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
Will, you haven't seen it yet, but you're okay with us talking about it.
I have written off Superman as a franchise for movies that I want to watch.
Now, I will tell you that the trailers are all a very accurate representation, as far as I'm concerned, of what the movie is.
Now,
see, the trailers
people
are
would-
great.
People would disagree with that.
Really?
Because I think Zack Snyder makes great trailers, or he has a good company.
And that is undeniable.
Dude, that
makes
Sucker
great
Punch trailer
trailers.
is amazing.
Sucker Punch had a great trailer, but not a great movie. Watchmen.
That is such an
So
understatement.
kind. So kind. Not a great movie is the nicest thing anyone's ever said about.
about
Put that in the
Sucker
back of the
Punch?
DVD box. Norman Chan, tested.com. Not a great movie.
That's the best one they can get.
That's what they got.
Sorry, go ahead.
Watchmen had an incredible trailer with the Smashing Pumpkins song.
And was a beautiful movie.
And the opening credits actually also are
yes, it works
amazing.
really great with music. I think Superman. There's that trailer, the full theatrical trailer, because when trailers come out, you have a teaser trailer, which gives you, maybe some scenes from the movie. And
No,
there's
the one
like
that opens with Russell Crowe watching Krypton being destroyed.
And with the Hans Zimmer sound, that song, that has amazing dialogue. But when you watch a movie, you realize those perfect pieces of dialogue. They're cut for the trailer and they're extended with extra words here and there,
extra
and the
spaces
movie
between the words,
and the different takes. And so you don't get that same sense you do when you watch a trailer.
I agree.
And,
You think the level of attention paid to the trailer is way more than any
a
particular
little bit,
scene in the
yeah.
movie?
The editing for the trailer, because it's got to be in 2.5 minutes
Yeah.
or 3 minutes. It's a little. It's art form.
I nonetheless. Do you agree? I don't know if you agree with me, but I thought that the movie delivered what the trailer promised.
Yes,
I was
okay.
really pleased about
the trailer promised a Superman movie that was full of action that we've never seen before, and had ties to his Kryptonian father and his Earth father, and those
Two
are big.
great pieces of casting, by the way.
Yeah, Kevin Costner as
100%. Costner is
it's
great.
brilliant.
And then the other promise was also the villain was someone who would try to live up to at least Terrence Stamp's
And
Zod.
he exceeds it. What's his name again?
He is oh gosh, you put in the spot.
Keep talking and I'll
if
find
only
it.
you could think of it.
If
Will.
only there was something like the internet that I could look this up on.
I thought that Zod, I wouldn't say surpassed Stamp because it's a totally different thing, but I think he made it his own entirely.
in the same way that Heath Ledger made the Joker his
Absolutely.
own without having to be compared to
Michael
Jack Nicholson.
Shannon.
Michael Shannon from
Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon kills in this movie.
from HBO's Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah,
that's where he's
And
at.
I always get this. I always thought that his face in Boardwalk Empire was a little much for me to take. Right, just
Because
like,
he's a little. He looks like he's just
the guy was
shifted a
the
little
guy
bit.
was born with a sneer.
He was born to be like a Chicago
He was
thug.
totally.
Yeah.
No, I actually think he's over. I think he's overdone as a Chicago thug. I think he's kind of like he looks like a comic book drawing of a thug.
Yeah, he looks like he should be in Dick Tracy, the Madonna Warren Beatty one.
Right. It's we got to go talk to Sneer. Right.
We're going to get out of the dump and get rid of some bodies, buddy.
But I thought he was fantastic as Zod. I thought from a special effects standpoint, they did something that hasn't been done in a Superman movie before, which is showing people moving really, really fast.
and consequences.
But showing people moving really fast. I have seen a car accelerate to the speed of sound in front of me. So I have seen.
You know what this looks like.
I know
you
what
have
this
a
looks
unique
like. And the
human
movie,
perspective
the
here.
movie nails what it feels like to watch something accelerate to an impossible speed right in front
and
of
feel that in your
And feel
heart.
that,
and
yeah.
like,
Okay.
that shock.
I will say, and I don't know if this is one of the complaints. I haven't read any of the reviews of it. That I did read one review in the New York Times today, and they said the last 25 minutes are exhausting, and the action is so over the top. And I agree that it's exhausting, but I think it works. However,
that's what you're paying for.
but yeah, right, exactly. I went to Peter Gabriel's last tour at the Oakland Coliseum, and someone was like, the next day they're like, yeah, it was a little theatrical, and I'm like, I don't know what you spent $150
Yeah,
on. but-
you wanted the floating pink balloon,
Right.
the pink balloon.
I didn't want to just hear the album for that money. Anyway, it was a little upsetting how much of the city they destroyed in the final battle. And I'm thinking this is a city full of people.
Yeah.
Oh, no, people die in this movie.
Thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yes.
And every other shot looks like something out of 9/11. Like something it hits a building and fire shoots
Oh, it's
out
terrifying.
from every window
Well, but,
on that floor.
So Superman 2 also destroyed a lot of Metropolis as the technology allowed at the time.
Right. The technology is one city street.
It was maybe half a block if you want to be real.
Look, I also think
Like you can't have two Supermen fighting each other and not have some shit blow
you
up.
can't. It's true, you can't. But and I think that Snyder is working off of the same kind of stuff we grew up with Superman 2, and like big fights meant big destruction of buildings and stuff. But maybe it's because I have kids and maybe it's because of 9/11, but I watched it and I kept on having, that was what kept pulling me out of my suspension of disbelief.
Well, so in Iron Man, they sorry, I didn't.
No, go ahead.
In Iron Man, they avoid that problem by having the climactic fight at like a dock, like at a loading dock, like where boats come up to pick up
Iron
the
Man
cargo.
3,
Iron Man 3.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
And it's completely like there's no.
You don't feel consequences.
You don't feel any consequences at all.
And you think that
and I got bored.
lowers the stakes?
I think that lowers the stakes. Like it's much worse if Superman is thinking, "Oh God, all these people are going to die," and also because part of the Superman mythology is that he is a dude who is here from another planet and he feels responsible for every human being on the planet.
But if that's the case, he's personally, at least with his body being hurled through the air, responsible for the deaths of hundreds, if not a few thousand people.
It is
in that
also
final
Well, he's
scene.
bad at it. He's still figuring it out.
That's exactly Will's right. It's an origin story, and you get the consequence of him, the agony. When he realizes, life in his hands at the end.
There are a couple of plot points that are just outright ridiculous, like the idea that they'd let Lois onto the plane. Yeah. Right? However, here's what I was thinking.
We should probably point out that there are going to be spoilers here.
There's
right,
definitely
spoilers.
We're deep
Spoiler
in
alert.
spoilers.
Yeah.
You should just title this spoiler
Spoilers.
alert.
Yeah.
That plot point is ridiculous until you realize that you would completely accept it in a comic book.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You would. Characters being wherever they need to be is totally acceptable in comic books. It's often less in movies because movies are so much more linear to our lives. And Snyder, I think, is holding very much to a comic book aesthetic. And I think it's one of the better ones. Like Superman actually starts out, spoiler alert, starts out jumping just like he does in the original.
So he doesn't learn to fly.
He doesn't learn to fly immediately. It is a scene in which he learns to fly, but the beginning of that scene is jumping a la Matrix really far.
Which is because the movie sets it up where his whole life his father's asked him to restrain himself and not reveal himself to the world. So he doesn't know his limits. And when his real father, Jor-El, tells him, these are your abilities, make good of them.
Or something?
AI hologram.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Some magic.
He then says, we don't know what your limits are. Test your limits. And he's in the North Pole or something. And then he does, which is a great tribute to the original Superman who couldn't fly, who just could jump over buildings.
Yeah.
That he jumps, makes these leaps, and then you have this elation of him realizing how to fly.
I mean, say what you will about Zack Snyder, but the movies that he's done that have been comic book adaptations, even Watchmen, which changed the ending of Watchmen in a way that I know a lot of people were really offended by, I thought that movie was very true to the comic, and it improved that over the original, because the original ending was super dumb.
I want to talk about city destruction again. Going back to that, in the modern age of superhero movies, we've seen and just big blockbusters, we've seen several examples of cities blown up. So
and Avengers, very specifically.
Yes, and I want to call out three of them that do it very differently. So you have a movie like Avengers, which is set in a very real city. Metropolis is in a fake city.
Yeah.
Avengers is New York, so you got to have these landmarks that people
I
recognize.
actually found Avengers city destruction stuff to be very painful. I lived in New York for 5 years. I know all that area really.
And
it's like the 3 square blocks, right?
Yeah,
And the battle is anchored around Grand Central Station because Tony Stark's building is where the MetLife building theoretically is in real life. So the fighting, and that works for the special effects team because then they only have to map out, and it allows them in greater detail to map out.
And it was
that
perfect,
area.
but it was always the bad guys causing all the damage in Avengers.
Even the Hulk didn't Hulk out and start smashing stuff that he wasn't supposed to smash.
Right. It wasn't like he was getting rid of aliens by taking the support out of a building and tipping a building on somebody.
But it was still restrained, I thought, in the Avengers.
I do,
they
too.
buildings didn't topple in the way they would.
Even when they probably should, like even when one of those space worms flew
giant-
through the building, and the building probably should have collapsed.
Grazed the building, structural integrity. And then you have a movie like Transformers.
The third one,
which was set in Chicago.
Don't watch that movie. By the way,
it's not a
If you
good
haven't
movie.
seen it, it's
I
not
haven't
good.
seen it.
But
They're gorgeous. I like watching them without sound.
The effects are amazing.
Yeah, the effects are gorgeous.
What you
really
mean?
good.
What you mean without a dialogue track?
Yeah.
You want the audio mixing,
Right, yes.
But you don't want the dialogue.
Oh, no, you know what? You could do what my friend David suggested for Star Wars Episode 2 and Spirits Within?
Yes,
Final
Final
Fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Watch them in French with English subtitles.
That's not a bad idea.
And it is a guaranteed way to, like, I will admit, Episode 2 is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just unbearable.
Well, if you cut out all the bits with Hayden Christensen and what's her name, Natalie Portman, it's even okay.
I'm dying to see. Is it Tobey Maguire that recut all three?
No, Topher Grace.
Topher Grace that recut all three of them so that they're one movie.
Yeah.
And apparently it's great.
Yeah, he's invited very few people, select friends.
Dying to be
love
one
to
of
see
those
that,
people.
So yeah, Transformers destroyed Chicago and had the buildings falling, and I think it did it really well because they showed the people inside the buildings, like the Marines inside the buildings as buildings are collapsing. You got a sense of like if you were in a building when it was collapsing, that would be terrifying. Yeah.
And also the stakes in that movie were different. It wasn't that movie was about the end of literally the end of the world. Not in an abstract, it's going to take 30 years kind of way, but you mix they're bringing another planet here and they're going to suck our energy.
Right. And you mix
real dumb.
A lot of human characters and, in terms of jumping between scenes, a lot of human characters and a lot of these superpowered Transformers beings, which that contrast makes people, the humans feel that much more vulnerable.
Right.
And then you have something like the Matrix Revolutions, the final fight, and they had no consequence because that was the closest you got to a Superman fight in movies.
You mean
when
the
Neo
Neo Agent Smith fight?
Neo Agent Smith flying fight
the
at the
Zion
end.
fight, there were consequences.
Right. Do you remember the Matrix Revolutions? Neo fights Smith at the end, and it's just them in the Matrix.
Well, but it's all the Smiths.
It's all the Smiths, and they're fighting in in an empty city basically because Smith has absorbed everyone. And you have this superpowered fight, but again, no consequences because there are no innocents around.
You just restart.
Maybe I just felt that that the balance was slightly off at the end of Superman, even though I enjoyed the spit out of it. And what it did was it ended up throwing off the final moment. Hold on, that's a package. Hold on.
Okay, we're gonna keep rolling.
Those stakes were just slightly off kilter, and they threw off the morality and resolution of the final end of the battle at the end of the film.
Which great finale for that battle.
Terrific finale
from a character
The
standpoint.
last couple of scenes felt like tack-ons to me.
And the last scenes were him being Clark Kent. They felt like tack-ons because they built up to what you would expect a sequel to be about.
I suspect that they were tacked on.
Yeah.
Some
people wanted more.
You think they're what if we don't get a sequel tack-ons, or you think
they were like
they felt like studio notes to me. Like, we need this, and this in the last 3 minutes of the movie.
It's important that we hint at the next villain,
or hint at him being Clark Kent and not just Superman in the Daily Planet.
Which is, I mean,
so he's not Clark Kent in this movie.
He's not the
not
reporter.
Until the very end.
There's no reporter.
It's like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's just this dude.
He's a farm boy.
Yeah, he's a farm boy.
And the S
wandering the
stands
world.
for hope, right?
In the movie
Amy Adams is great.
Amy Adams is always great.
Terrific.
Henry Cavill. He was originally cast as Superman 10 years ago.
And then he went to play Jesus instead?
No.
That's Jim Caviezel.
Oh. Yeah, Caviezel, yeah. He went to do...
That sounds the same.
He went to do another one of those Borges, Rome
Oh, yeah.
show. The Tudors.
Okay.
He was in the Tudors,
yeah.
I think waiting 10 years so that he was in his mid-30s and not his early 20s to do this movie really helped.
He was almost overly built up, though. I mean, his puffiness of his muscles is... every time you see him without his shirt on, you're like...
Is it like Chris Evans,
Superman.
Captain America?
No. He is like...
It's more than Chris Evans, Captain America body.
He is
wow, really?
He is like a bodybuilder, like...
It's puffy. He's puffy. He's yeah. It is literally... I mean, I was sitting next to my kids, and one of my sons kept on going... every time you saw him.
Well,
it was like
probably not for your sons.
What?
Probably...
you think they're the wrong quadrant?
Target the 4 quadrant. They're probably for half the other quadrant.
Yeah, totally. But all that being said, I thought the opening was gorgeous. I really liked the design and the tech from Krypton.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the character. I thought all the casting in the movie, every last bit. Chris Maloney, Richard Schiff, all the bit parts were really well filled out and formed. Not J. Jonah Jameson, the other name
Perry
of the
White.
newspaper editor.
There were two guys in the Matrix: Lawrence Fishburne and the General.
And there was 2 or 3 actors from Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah, Hilo. Yeah,
Hilo and the guy that used to play the head of the comm deck in Battlestar Galactica, the one who turned out to be gay, is also in that same scene that Hilo's in.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Clearly paying homage to whole layers of science fiction.
Yeah, but everyone played their parts well. I only thought that the beginning felt a little rushed. I know they had to get him onto Earth. I wanted to see more.
Well, they didn't want to make the Green Lantern mistake.
Well, I wanted more space stuff.
I thought it was okay. I thought that pacing was fine. You know, I was very relieved that there weren't large chunks of the movie that made me go like that.
So what didn't you like, Norm?
The pacing and the writing.
Okay.
I thought some of the writing needed to be tightened up.
Just the dialogue?
Like, if you're watching a movie and you hear a line, you go, I wish they could have said exactly what they said, but use more elegant words. And if you're thinking that, then you shouldn't have to think that. You want to. For these type of blockbuster movies, especially like the fanboy superhero movies, I rate them in terms of like chills per metric of time.
Yeah, everything they say should be clever.
And everything should be like,
Right?
oh, that was really well written, or I got a chill from that.
Having you know, just having the tiniest limited experience I have with writing stuff and then producing it, I get the feeling sometimes in these movies that early on in the process, somebody writes down something thinking, we're going to fix that later. We're going to refine that later. And then it doesn't get refined. And you end up feeling like a good chunk, you know, maybe 10% of the script just feels like a first run.
Well, or they leave the line in that is specifically there so that they can say, well, this scene's a little bit long. We need to cut this. You know, this doesn't add anything.
Right,
and then
right.
nobody ever complains about it.
There's literally a line where Zod, in a very dramatic moment, he goes, "Release the world engine" or something. I'm like, oh, that's such like a release the Kraken like internet meme thing. Like you could have just said, deploy the world
the Juggernaut
engine.
bitch.
Does
still
anyone
bad.
actually ever say that?
In
the movie.
X-Men 3.
Oh, he does. He says
He
something.
does it because
God.
of the internet.
He
They
says it
reshot-
to Ellen Page.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Oh, it's so bad.
Don't be self-aware that way.
Well, the internet was still new back then. They were still learning. Give Brett Ratner a chance, man.
I think a lot of people who don't like Man of Steel, because people like Superman for different reasons. There's so many different interpretations. A lot of people love Donner and
I
Superman 1
love
and 2
Donner,
are
Superman
great.
1 and 2. They're incredibly dated. They're really cheesy now. I am surprised by all the talk of the dreary Brandon Routh Superman because I actually really like that one.
I like that
I
movie
went and
too.
saw it twice in the theater. My review of it was Superman loves you. I mean that like the movie itself has respect for you and like
loves Donner. Superman loves Donner more.
But I love.
You.
But what's wrong with loving Donner? Donner was good.
Donner was
the
good.
first superhero movie.
Yeah,
And I thought that I thought
movie
that
will
the
be
Brandon Routh
perfect
version was.
itself.
I thought Brandon Routh was great. I thought that the take on it was great.
Kevin
It's
Spacey
a
was an
weird-
okay Lex Luthor.
I thought he was fine. I think that it was a weird place to show up within a franchise. Like he's been
Well-
gone for a while and now he comes back. That's
Yeah,
strange, but
we've seen so many origin stories at this point. Well, and the problem with that movie was the kid too. The kid was the whole bit with the kid. Is he Superman's kid? Is he not Superman's kid? Yeah, he's probably Superman's kid.
right.
The kid was bad.
is it Rachel McAdams that's the girl?
It's Rachel McAdams.
No, it's not Rachel McAdams.
No.
It's the surfer girl. She has one blue eye, one green
Oh,
eye.
right. Kate Bosworth.
Kate
Okay,
Bosworth.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
She's not memorable in that, and I like her, but she's not memorable
She's not
in
a
that.
Pulitzer Prize. That's why Amy Adams, they got someone who you could see being a
has
journalist.
chops.
And
Wait. Hey, Norm, I'm going to derail this for a second. Will you grab that pile of vinyl over there?
yes.
I want to show you what I picked up at a garage sale the other day. This is an astonishing collection of vinyl that my kids and I picked up
Here,
at a garage sale.
scooch
I'm gonna
it in
this off
the
to
middle. Yeah,
side.
yeah, I'll scooch laptop over.
So check this out. I have a record player at the man cave.
Oh, yeah,
so
I know.
We can listen to albums, and we found this guy, and he had these, and this is literally I just picked this stack up and bought the whole thing. So
is this just walking around in your neighborhood?
this is just effectively is about 6 blocks from here.
This is like I come down with the Munchkin and strap her on the chest and we just walk around on Saturday morning because there's awesome yard sales.
Totally. And this whole thing was like $15 for this whole thing. So Best of Bread, totally great. Grew up on this.
Yes,
Boston, awesome.
that is yes.
Cat Stevens. This was my first Cat Stevens album.
You really weren't kidding when you said you were a pop kid. In the,
Oh,
in
no,
the,
no, no,
in the
not at
70s
all.
and 80s.
Not at all. Morning Has Broken. I remember finding this album, not knowing anything about it, being like 8 years old, and putting this on the stereo and being like, I love this song, Morning Has Broken.
First album. What was your first album, Norm? Did you just steal it from the internet probably because you're the
No,
right
I
age for that?
tapes.
Oh, you had tapes.
Tumbleweed Connection, Elton John. I don't think there's enough respect in the world for early Elton John. These early albums of his are unbelievably great.
The thing about early Elton John albums is you put them on, you think you don't know any of the songs when you look at the song listings, and you know every single song.
Exactly.
That is a fantastic album.
Sweet Baby James, James Taylor,
Look how
total
young
killer.
he is. Look how much hair he has.
I know. Carole King, Tapestry.
That is a mopey ass
She feels
album.
the earth move under her feet.
Yes.
She is the lady.
Is that the one with Downtown too? No, that's not Carole
know.
King. That's oh hell, I can't remember.
She might have written Downtown.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
It's Tallulah Clark saying it, right?
Right. Neil Diamond,
That's a Sweet Caroline is an all-time favorite for me.
totally. John Denver's Greatest Hits.
Volume 2, though. I don't know about that. I'm a little skeptical there. I don't think there's enough to fill 2 volumes.
Billy Joel, The Stranger.
That is an album.
I believe that I could sing this entire album from start to finish without missing a lyric.
Hold on, were you in a Billy Joel video?
I was in a Billy Joel video. You can go look it up right now. It's called You're Only Human. I'm the Nerd Who Drowns. We should link to it.
We'll put a
definitely
link. It's on YouTube,
yeah.
I'm sure.
I've said this before, and I love Billy Joel.
Yeah.
I grew up with Billy Joel. Getting to spend 3 days with him on a set in New York City was absolutely dreamy. He couldn't have been a nicer gentleman.
Oh.
His videography is spotty.
Did
at
he direct
best.
it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was directed by a guy named Friedman, something Friedman.
There was a period of time that he was in that wrong period of time when people weren't sure what music videos are. They short films?
This was
Is it
this
just
was
like
the worst one. This video is so bad. Halfway through, my wife was like, "Are you in any more of this thing? Because I can't stand it." Like she wasn't willing to invest the next 90 seconds in finding out she wanted a spoiler.
I love you, honey, but
Yeah. Rock of the Westies,
that's
Elton
that's
John,
another great
and
Elton John.
Chicago.
That's $15 worth of vinyl.
Dude, this is.
Have you listened to them yet?
I have not.
Are they all gouged up? You
No,
always got to look.
We checked.
Okay.
We went through them. They're in darn good shape. It's a stunning collection.
We're brilliant.
And I love my kids were like the ones who are most like my kids, like, oh, Boston, Chicago. Like they've been doing the School of Rock. So they're
yeah.
fully inculcated with good early pop.
Between that
think
and
Rock
Glee
Band.
and Rock Band.
Yes.
Like Rock Band is one of those things that for me, I hear Rock Band songs now.
Yep.
And like I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah,
a
the
Rock Band
Killers,
song.
yeah.
The Killers, that Hot Hot Heat song, and
Transfer
and
Man.
yeah, and what's the other one? The one with the gold lion, not the one. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Wait, now we were on.
Okay.
I derailed with the record albums, but we should get back to summer
Superman.
blockbusters.
Yes.
Because Superman, I think we're clear that it's not the greatest movie ever made. It's no Avengers.
But
it's
Avengers
really-
was directed by a writer and written by a writer.
Yeah.
So, but the thing I would say about Avengers, what is Norm?
Oh no, David Goyer, the writer. No,
Okay.
Nicely done.
It's just one of those movies that even though that final climactic battle is way too long, way longer than it should be
In Avengers.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it,
Yeah.
but it goes on for much longer than I would have ever thought you could make a battle go on for.
Right.
All of the summer action movies that have followed have done the same thing, and none of them have done it as well.
Right.
So Iron Man 3 has like a 45 minutes climactic finale
Really?
that I could have taken a nap during. It was just like, at some point I was like, oh yeah, Iron Man, punch some
gotta
guys.
see it. I haven't seen Iron Man.
Star
yet.
Trek has a long finale, right?
Star Trek
2
does have a
finales.
long finale, and it's a muddy.
I like Star Trek.
I
finale.
really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the spit out of Star
You
Trek.
know, okay, I'll tell you from a technical perspective why I enjoyed it. So it was J.J. Abrams. I think it's his 5th film. His first film was Mission Impossible 3.
is awesome.
And starring Tom Cruise, as we all know. And the apocryphal story is that in all of Tom Cruise's movies, he has to be running really fast because he's a great runner. He loves running in movies. Like I think Will Smith, the movie actor, and Tom Cruise, they both do a lot of running in movies.
But here's the thing you don't know. There is a guy in Hollywood who is the running coach for Tom Cruise and Will Smith.
Sure.
And they took
Really?
Jaden to the running coach.
yeah,
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
For instance, After Earth, I want to go to the running coach and learn to run like Tom Cruise.
That sounds brilliant.
Hilarious.
And there's a scene at the end of
Why would we
Mission
not do
Impossible
that?
3 where they're in, I think, Shanghai or some Asian city.
Yeah.
And he is running to his wife from one place to the next. And
Yeah.
it's like a long take. And the great thing that J.J. Abrams as a director did has this dolly shot where he's across a river and he's tracking Tom Cruise running across the stream, across the river with a long lens. And he's running from left to right. Like, and it's a long tracking shot. gorgeous, not just your standard slow motion someone running toward the screen.
It's reminiscent of the Bond movie. Which one was the one that he was in Thailand or Vietnam or something, or Hong Kong maybe even. But there's that same thing along a canal, and they're shot from across, and it's Roger Moore kind of shuffling along.
Oh, Roger Moore, right?
And in Star Trek, J.J. Abrams does the same thing with Spock at the end when he's chasing Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, yes.
Except he's running from right to left this time. He switched the angle. It's a great J.J. Abrams' sense of nonstop action.
Yes.
It's very kinetic.
I really enjoyed Star Trek. I will say it's very exciting how well cast a lot of these movies are. I couldn't think of a better cast for Star Trek.
And they own the roles.
Every human in it is brilliant.
They own them in a way that you can't detach them.
Totally wonderful.
But you look at and you see the original characters, but you don't remember It's not parody. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just
they're making them their own. Chris Pine now owns Kirk. I really think that. Also, how this is interesting because it's come up a couple times this summer. How great does Peter Weller look? Peter Weller is in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and he looks like he's got a painting in the attic. He looks so good, and he's just terrific.
Explain painting in the attic.
No, it's
Dorian Gray.
Portrait of Dorian Gray.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And then along the same line, I don't know if you've been keeping current with Mad Men, but Harry Hamlin has reinvigorated my respect for him. He's a character in Mad Men. He's one of the executives of the new partners of Sterling Cooper Draper Price.
Okay.
And
he was on some teenage soap opera for a long time.
Really?
Wasn't he? He was he played the dad.
I don't know. He's amazing in Mad Men. He's got this really slick voice, and he is a weird enigma. He's almost like a kind of a Greek chorus type character.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And you don't get a beat on him, which is kind of funny because sometimes in an office there is someone there who you just can't get a beat on, but they're in a position of responsibility and they kind of do what they do, but they're also weird. Mm-hmm. He's an enigma, and I love watching him go.
And
so I'm really happy
age.
to see these two actors that I would have thought long retired. They're just not doing stuff anymore. Come back and
RoboCop still got it.
Yeah,
dude, totally. Peter Weller.
And on that note, I think we should
wrap it up.
This one. Have you watched Mad Men, Norm?
No, I haven't watched it.
Okay, wait. Before we wrap this up, I just want to say I'm crazy, stupid excited for Pacific Rim.
Yeah, no, it's got all the things that I like. and Guillermo has yet to make a movie that I did not absolutely love.
Yes.
And so this is the summer that all the action movies have gotten kind of slammed in some way or another. So maybe his is the one. Maybe his is going to be the good one this summer.
I cannot wait. Today we are canceling
It's
the
a couple
apocalypse.
weeks from now, right?
Yeah, July 12th.
Yeah,
July 12th.
July 12th, yeah.
3 days before my birthday.
That's happy birthday, Adam.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week with another edition of Still Untitled. See you guys later.
Bye.
Now, how was that?
That was all right.
I couldn't see any shockwaves or anything.
What do you think I am? I'm not an X-Man.